online, radio, and TV.
Welcome to the next level.
From Manhattan, Kansas, this is Duo.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. Was she just naked? Hold up. Why did we watch that?
Howdy, everybody. It's Cameron for another beautiful episode of Why Did We Watch That? The show that comes to you every Monday with the best, the worst, and the flat-out strange in film. Today was another one of those days where I gave you guys very little warning of what this week's show is going to be about. But I'll fill you in now. It's all about superheroes. Superhero movies. What do you like about them? What do you hate about them? And you know, I've got two very special guests in the studio with me. I've got the guys from Project Nerd, Bob and Travis. And I screwed it up. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. Tyler. You know, I asked 30 seconds before the show. It's not Travis. It's Tyler, right? And I screwed that up.
Yeah, it was well done. I mean, we knew it was coming. I think we were all waiting for it.
You guys were just sitting over there. You know what?
Realized.
He's gonna screw this up.
What's your name, Tyler? For some reason, I thought it was Travis. God, he's gonna say Travis when it's
Yeah, and sure enough, I did. See, and normally I write these things down. I'm just sitting here like writing the whole episode, and it's so I don't say stupid things like that. But you know,
got it out of the way.
Well, we're used to it.
Well,
smooth.
good,
Smooth
because
sailing
I'm
from
going to
all
say
out.
plenty more dumb things. Lots
We'll
of dumb things. So first off, tell me guys a little bit about Project Nerd.
Project Nerd, we are, I mean, the quintessential nerd blog. Basically, project-nerd.com. We link to all kinds of nerdy stuff on the internet. We write reviews, movies, books, comic books, video games, lots of articles about various things that we like. And then also every year we go on our what we call our Pro Nerd convention tour, where we go to comic conventions. So this year we're going to be at Planet Comic Con in Kansas City, C2E2 in Chicago, Denver Comic Con in obviously Denver, to interview people, you know, whether they're TV stars, cosplay stars, artists, writers, that kind of stuff. Just go out and do the stuff that we would normally do ourselves and just record it. So
That is
and write about it.
That's awesome. I love that. Now, so is this what you guys do full time, or do you have day jobs, as we put it?
Yeah, we all have real jobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I like to
Something-
say that I have too.
This is
but-
something we would like to be a real job one day. It is not yet.
It's not.
Right. Hey, hopeful. That's all you can really be sometimes. Now, okay, let's jump right into it. There are a billion different superheroes, super villains, super evil people, super good people. Now, the number one for you guys, who is it?
Number one superhero?
Number one superhero.
It's a tough one. For me, it's probably going to will always be Spider-Man, just because
Spider-Man.
that was my guy when I was a little kid, first started collecting comic books. The very first comic books I had were Spider-Man. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, the whole Spidey mythos. Didn't help they had a cartoon show on the same time on Fox. It was good, but that's my guy, Spider-Man.
All right.
I mean, I love comic books. I'm a giant nerd about them, but Spider-Man will probably always be my guy.
And for me, it's Batman.
Batman.
Just the different incarnations, the whole backstory. I mean, that's for me. That's the best right there.
Well, so then the real question is, who is the best Batman?
Man, that's a tough one. For me, I mean, Christian Bale, I think, did the best. If I want to go back a little further, I thought Michael Keaton was good.
Yeah.
Just for the fun of it, Adam West was.
Yeah,
the best.
that's who I was going to
Pure
make a
kid.
joke
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, he's going to be at Denver.
He is.
Yes,
Some
him and
days
Robin.
you can't just get rid of. You just can't get rid of a bomb.
No.
Not at all.
Adam West is also one of those characters you don't forget. Like, once you've seen him in anything or heard his name, it's just, that's someone that you remember.
Yeah, or his voice. His
Yeah.
voice is so distinct. It's very close to William Shatner's little staccato type.
Okay, so then the opposite side of that, supervillain. Who's the best supervillain?
That's tough.
That's serious. Oh man, that's a tough one. I mean, there's so many supervillains, so many ridiculous ones, so many ultimately powerful ones, but probably the Joker.
The Joker?
Specifically, you go back to the Batman storyline, The Killing Joke. Batman. I mean, Joker is the quintessential, you know, other side of the coin of Batman, and he is the perfect psychopath.
Gotcha.
Absolutely agree with Tyler.
That doesn't happen very often.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. I'm really surprised because, but yeah, Joker is definitely the best.
Alrighty. You know, I'm trying to think of like the different Jokers that I've seen and, you know, which one I like the most. And I always go back to Michael Keaton's Joker. Not I forget
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. Thank you. That's the Joker for me. Just because Jack Nicholson in himself. You look at him, you're just like, okay, yeah, you kind of creep me out.
Yeah.
You fit that psychopath that I'm looking for out of the Joker.
I mean, there's been so many Jokers between Cesar Romero, Jack Nicholson,
Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
So many different Jokers. But for me, and it may be just the age I am and how, I guess, seminal the TV series was for me, and surely like the length of time he played it. For me, the Joker will always be Mark Hamill. As he did the voice of it on the original Batman the Animated Series that ran in the late 80s, early 90s. And then he's done it in most of the video games. So like Arkham City, Arkham Asylum. He did it in a lot of the straight-to-DVD movies. He did it all, like pretty much anyone that's in the animated, any Joker that's been in the animated DC universe except for some of the newer stuff and some of the not primary storyline, it's always been Mark Hamill. Luke Skywalker,
Wow.
for those who don't know.
Well, okay, yeah.
And that's
When you hear him in a cartoon or in a video game and he has that like weird cackle and chuckle, like that's Mark Hamill. And
It
he
is very distinct.
If
I
I
had
see
no idea.
if I see the Joker and I hear that, and I immediately put Mark Hamill's voice. Like I'm reading a Batman comic, Mark Hamill's voice is playing in my head. So
That's awesome. Now, there are a lot of superhero movies coming out in the next year or so.
Yeah.
Now, sure, you can say I'm excited for all of them, but is there one that you're like, I don't think, not really too hyped about that one?
Wow. That's gonna be tough.
I want to be. I don't know. There's ones I'm very excited about. If there's one that I'm not, I want to be really excited about the new Amazing Spider-Man. So they've like the second part of the new trilogy of it with Andrew Garfield. The problem is from the trailers, it looks like it could be good, but it looks like they, rather than falling into the trap that Spider-Man 3 fell into, they're going to do it in Spider-Man 2, where they're throwing 12 villains at the screen and just seeing what sticks. Like, stick with Spider-Man, give him one good villain, and it's going to work out well, as opposed to let's put every single villain in there we can.
I mean,
and see
right
what
now I
happens.
think at least there are 4 major villains.
I mean,
know
you've got
there's more.
Rhino, you've got Electro.
Green Goblin.
You've got, I guess, the Green Goblin, and then I don't know.
Some, yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
I think the one that sticks out for me is when I searched, all the superhero movies that were coming out pretty soon. Have you guys ever heard of the Ant-Man?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's coming out in 2015.
So-
Could you give me a background story on that
Actually,
one?
super excited about Ant-Man.
Okay.
They're doing it not differently, but what people who don't follow comics, the actual Ant-Man, the original Ant-Man, whose real name is Henry Pym, Dr. Henry Pym, is actually one of the original Avengers. Like before Captain America, before the Hulk, he was one of the original Avengers. The comic book movie they're making about him is actually not Henry Pym, but the second Ant-Man, which is a different guy. He basically has the ability to shrink and grow using these are called Pym particles. I mean, it gets super nerdy. It gets way deep into down the rabbit hole. The reason I'm excited about it is they've shown some test footage of him doing the shrinking, growing, looks cool. But the main reason I'm excited about it is the guy they've tapped to direct Ant-Man is Edgar Wright, who most people know from doing Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz. He also did Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. So like as a director, I mean, he's made 4 movies that I love. So I'm on board with it. Regardless of what others goes on, Edgar Wright at the helm, I'm on board with it. So.
Well, now I'm excited for it because at first I saw it and I was like, Ant-Man? I've never heard of Ant-Man. Like,
Ant-Man with Wasp and some other characters was one of the original Avengers in the comic books. Obviously, not in the TV series, but I mean, a movie series. But
now was okay. I'm trying to think back. Wasp is something that sparks a memory in my head. Is he a character or she always very small?
So, same thing. Wasp is actually Janet Pym, Hank Pym's wife,
Okay.
who was also an original Avenger who used very similar technology to him to be able to get big and small and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Alrighty. Well, then, we were talking about Avengers and whatnot. I'm going to jump into a, not, sticking on the Avengers, but Avengers or Justice League? All the roughest questions.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
I was. I mean, obviously he's not. I was always more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy. So for me, in the comic books, it was always the Avengers. In the movies, obviously the Avengers, because we have not seen any speck of what could be the Justice League. But I will say, when it comes to animated universe, like cartoons, the Justice League cartoon and the Justice League
yeah.
Unlimited cartoon that DC did, their animated universe is fantastic. And there's some really, really good stuff going on animated Justice League wise, but Avengers, I mean, it has too many, there's too many members that are like the core group of, what I want to say, the core group of Justice League people who no one could tell you anything about. Martian Manhunter, the Flash, Green Arrow, that kind of stuff. Whereas you go to the Avengers. Now, granted, the movie helps, but everyone knows who the Hulk is. Everyone knows who Captain America is. Everyone knows who Thor,
Iron Man.
and then everyone who's jumped into the Avengers over the years, whether it be Spider-Man or the Fantastic Four or that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, all right. So we let's jump back into the Avengers real quick. Of between Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Thor, Hawkeye, least favorite.
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
He just shoots arrows.
Yep.
Everybody else is Black Widow. I mean, she's
Depends on
On
what
the
universe
day.
you go with, whether or not she has
Yeah.
quote unquote powers.
Right.
right. But, Hawkeye, like I said, he shoots arrows. That's it.
Right.
Runs out of arrows, he's screwed.
Yep.
Clint Barton's a fun character. He's a trouble. I mean, he's a dark character depending on what universe you go in. But yeah, I mean, he definitely got short shrift in the Avengers movie because, like he said, he gets possessed, he gets knocked in the head, he's better again, he shoots some arrows.
Sure.
So
To me, when it comes to people with actual superpowers, I don't like the Hulk. I've given it multiple tries throughout my childhood and early 20s. I want to like the Hulk. I like the idea of someone who gets really strong. But you always go back to they get really strong because of something of being angry
They're
and
ticked off something. Yeah.
Hulk is a weird character, and a lot of people do have like this love-hate relationship. He's had one really bad movie, one movie, one campy television show, and one really cool Avengers appearance. But in the comic books, he has one of the most peak and valley messed up storylines. He actually can be a really fun, crazy character, and he is practically indestructible. But yeah, I mean, he can be a little bit of a one-note character. He's the equivalent of like a Wolverine. Like Wolverine is like everyone loves Wolverine. Like Wolverine, but
But he's
the
moving.
more you find out about him, the less interesting he becomes. Like especially like the most recent, not the most recent one, but the one before that, Origins. It gets to the point where it's like, all right, like I honestly know he's not gonna die. Like how many more ridiculous situations can you put him in where he gets back up and like, cracks his neck and his face heals up and like there's absolutely no danger at any time in his. And then they think they did that a lot better in the newest one, the Wolverine, because like they made it so that there was actually some threat there. Like he's taking down helicopters single-handedly. Like I mean, like the more like when there's a mystique to them, they're like, oh, that's a really cool character. And then the more you find out about him, the more you're just like,
Now, okay, there's something that I noticed in recent movies with the Hulk. The Hulk almost has this like personality. Before, like I don't ever really remember the Hulk having like this, emotional understanding of everyone else.
Pretty charming lately.
And recently it's just like, oh, let's give him other traits.
I mean,
Good,
there's
bad.
I think they just have to do that because otherwise it is just a
well, and yeah, and like you
special-
said, like
just a special
throughout the years, he's gained significantly more personality in the comic books, and there are versions of the Hulk that are actually managed to keep intelligence and speak and talk and stuff like that. There's so many different versions of him, but I mean, there are certain things like Hulk smash that are iconic, like he's always been
Of
able
course.
to say and stuff like that. So, I mean, you have to give him something to make him. But he was, I mean, even the comic, even the original Avengers comic, he was never really a team member. He was just a unguided missile that you pointed in one direction and said, go nuts. So.
But for me, it's always been like his backstory. I mean, the series,
The
with
Bruce
Bill-
Banner, yeah.
with Bill Bixby. I mean, those little adventures that he would have, meeting people and stuff like that. That was really good. And then you got to Ang Lee's version, and it was ridiculously boring.
So bad.
It was bad. And then Edward Norton's Hulk was actually really good.
I enjoyed it.
It was a good story. He everything was done well with it. It just didn't catch on because I think people were kind of turned off by that first Hulk movie. And now Avengers is gone, it's taken them to another level.
Yeah, so maybe, hopefully, it bugs me when you get more and more of like, a bunch of Hulk movies came out all at once, and they kept changing who the main actor was. So that that really kind of probably took down the audience.
Norton
a
was
little bit.
good, and then Ruffalo really worked well with that Avengers cast.
just had- Ruffalo's just has so much charisma.
Whenever Ruffalo was on screen as Bruce Banner, like he stole the show, I think, throughout the Avengers, like the scenes he was in. Now the Hulk is the big giant green monster and does what he does, but I thought Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner was fantastic.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, there you go, the Hulk. All right, so we're going to take a quick commercial break because, as always, I always like to run a little long. But let's go to break. We'll be right back.
Online radio and TV from Manhattan, Kansas. This is Duo.
Hi, I'm Seth Neiman. Since I founded Duo nearly 10 years ago, we've moved to multiple living rooms in multiple cities and accumulated a lot of junk. Now that we're set up in a real live studio, we've come to the conclusion that all this junk is really junking up the place. So we decided to give all this junk away. Check out Duo's Facebook page every Monday for the newest piece of Duo junk that we're giving away. Like the post, and every Friday we'll choose a winner. Our junk is your gain. Go to facebook.com/duo to get in on the action.
Duo.com.
Howdy, hey everyone. Cameron here from WDWWT for Duo.com. It's the podcast network for the young, the old, and the criminally insane. Oh, wait, scratch that. For the young, the old, and people with ears. Well, that kind of seems insensitive. For the young, the old, and people without diabetes. Stay fit, people. No, I kid. Duo.com, online radio and TV.
Live from Manhattan, Kansas. Online radio and television. Duo.com.
All right. And we're back talking about superhero movies with the two smartest superhero fans, people who know it all, the guys from Project Nerd. Now, before the break, we were talking about the Hulk. I'm going to switch it up, and I want to talk about Superman versus Batman.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
That's always a fun one. That one has been done so many times in TV, movies, comic books. I mean, there's been so many Batman Superman fights, and the general consensus is Batman usually always wins.
Yeah.
Because Superman's not willing to do what it takes, and Batman's a bit of a prick. And but Batman is like that. I mean, his thing is he's prepared for every eventuality in every way, shape, or form. Anything that could or ever might happen to someone that's involved in anything, he has made a plan, and then a backup plan for that plan, and then a backup plan for that one. Typically, when people talk about the Batman Superman fight, they always go to The Dark Knight, though, which was the reboot, but I shouldn't say reboot's not a reimagining by Frank Miller. Came out in the late 80s. That is an older, retired Batman who puts back on the suit to fight crime in Gotham City. And towards the end of the movie, like most superheroes have hung it up, and Superman is still around, but in background, but he's basically works for the U.S. government, and the U.S. government finally gets upset with what Batman's doing in Gotham City, sends Superman to fight him. Batman puts on this giant mechanical suit that's powered by kryptonite, with kryptonite everywhere, and just beats beats Superman with an inch of his life. Just wants him to, and then basically tells him, I just wanted you to know that if this ever went down, I could win, and then keels over of a heart attack, which later on turns out to be a fake heart attack. But
of course.
I mean, Batman is always going to win. Superman has gotten better over the years, but Superman was always such a boring character. He's the Boy Scout.
Yeah.
He's the big,
the goody,
he's invulnerable, he has heat vision, he's strong, he can turn back time by flying around the earth.
Only thing
nothing
he
he
can
can't
handle is
do.
a rock.
And he's super honorable, justice and truth in the American way kind of thing. Whereas Batman is a dark, conflicted, angry,
Lots of
relatable
issues.
character, and Superman is Superman. Like the only relatable thing about him is his alter ego is kind of a dork. That's all he's got going for him.
But what about in Man of Steel? I mean, Superman offs.
Oh yeah, and
God.
they've definitely went a different direction with that. With him, I mean, there's been a lot of complaints about the way that Man of Steel. When I first walked out of the theater, I was kind of about it. After I let it set with me, I felt better about it. But there were parts of Man of Steel that definitely took parts of that are ingrained parts of the Superman mythos and turned it on its head, like killing Zod, or by the time the movie's over, everyone in the state of Kansas and most of the U.S. knows that Clark Kent and Superman are the same person. Between him landing in like an IHOP, not in
Yeah.
costume, to
Oh.
to Lois Lane driving up to his farm, the Clark farmhouse, and him walking out and like or landing. I mean, it's a little ridiculous, but it was a fun movie, I guess.
Oh, by the way, Superman killing Zod. Spoiler alert.
I mean,
Well, even then, like it's Superman, like how do people not know Superman Clark Kent? I mean,
That's
maybe it's because
his
people
hair
don't
is
know.
parted on the other side.
Oh, of course.
You
the
know?
funny thing is people talk about this, and obviously in TV shows and movies and stuff, it's always the same actor, so there's only so much they can do. But in the comic books, they have this whole explanation behind how he like slouches and he does these things to make it so he looks like a definitely different person. But,
Gotcha.
obviously, Dean Cain looks the same in either costume. Brandon Routh looks the same in either costume. What was the new guy? Who was in the Tudors and who's the new
Henry.
Henry Cavill,
Cavill,
looks
yeah.
the same in Clark Kent and Superman, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's one thing that always got
Batman
me.
at least covers up his face.
Yeah,
a little bit.
exactly. The mask is crucial, even if it's just like pulling a Robin. It's just this little thing that goes
Little
over his
domino
eyes.
mask, it's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no big deal at all. Now, I don't know how big of fans you guys are with the X-Men, but I have always loved the X-Men. Like, if I had to say any group of the superheroes at all, that's my number one. That's the one I like the most. What do you guys think about the X-Men?
X-Men's is a tricky thing as if you're a comic book fan because X-Men technically reside in like the Marvel universe, but a lot of people who are comic book fans are either Marvel fans or they're X-Men fans. You're not both because the X-Men storylines can go off in these pretty
Sure.
weird, crazy places. But the X-Men they're fairly iconic. There's at least one character for just about everyone. They had a very popular long-running cartoon series in like the 90s that people loved. And they have fun characters. They have the iconic like the Cyclops, the Wolverine. I don't know. My favorite X-Men are usually the weird ones, like Cable. I'm a big Cable fan. I like Cable. That's about it. So.
Cable. That's not a familiar one to me.
Cable, if you see him, he's usually the guy that has like the one mechanical arm and like the glowing eye. He is the son. Technically, his real name is Cable. What is his name? Summers. Nathan Summers. He's the time traveling son of Cyclops who came from the future back to the past to save the day and time travel. He's a really, like I said, X-Men stories get very convoluted with time travel and stuff like that. But he's a fun
Was there a
character.
crossover with Cable to I feel like there's another character either in with I get it mixed up. You're gonna hate me when I say this. The Avengers or the Justice League. I feel like there's a character that's just like that in one of those groups who shows up every once in a while.
There's a lot
Is that
of
right?
time traveling like guys.
Right, so
Cable's biggest I mean he was in some X-Men storylines. He started what was called X-Force and stuff, but one comic book that got a lot of people into him is he did a 50-part series where he quote unquote teamed up with Deadpool called Cable and Deadpool.
Oh, gotcha,
And
okay.
Deadpool's huge now. Like he went
People
from
love
being-
Deadpool.
Deadpool went from being a nobody
Mm-hmm.
big character in some throwaway character in some lines to like
No, he's
he's the
iconic,
most
yeah.
popular guy on the planet, and him and Cable did a lot of stuff together and stuff like that. So
Gotcha. So okay, Cable favorite.
in the X-Men side of the universe,
Yeah,
probably.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. How about for you?
I'm Jean Grey. I'm pretty traditional. Really? I like her storyline and anytime you can get Famke Janssen to play her, I'm pretty
Now-
Oh, Famke Janssen.
I'm not. I don't know a lot of the background story, but someone who I have enjoyed, at least recently in the most recent X-Men movies, is the character Angel.
Yeah, Angel has had some. It's also gone through all sorts of different things with, but he's a really interesting. God, I can't even think of his real name now. Something the third. I don't know.
I can't remember his name.
He's a rich kid. I don't know.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
He was in X-Force for a while with metal wings. He became Archangel. He was blue with these like metal like razor wings. It was kind of cool. So
There you go.
I don't know. I'm excited about the new one, Days of Future Past. I think.
Yes,
looks
I actually-
fantastic.
Yeah.
I got roommates who they're like, I'm done with X-Men movies. Like, no, there's almost nothing they can do. Well, I'm sure there's something they could do that would turn me away, but I will probably be watching those
I don't know.
movies.
The first one was good. The second one was really good. The third one, not so much. Wolverine Origins was awful. But First Class despite what First Class did with like the purists were mad because it messed with a lot of characters' timelines
Oh,
and stuff
definitely
like
did.
that. But it was really good. And then this new one mixing, the old with
Old
the
and
new
new.
looks fantastic. So, and it is a real storyline. They've got some good people in it. They've got what's his name? Tyrion from Game of Thrones and Station Agent, and
Peter
Peter Dinklage
yeah.
is going to play Bolivar Trask, the guy who invented
Yeah.
the Sentinels. I think that's kind of cool. I like Peter Dinklage.
See, that's what I'm waiting for. I want to see those Sentinels.
The Sentinels, I'm excited.
Everyone gets. I mean, I think of it from back in the cartoons where it's just
Purple,
like
the purple
yeah,
and
oh,
pink,
yeah.
and
That's I love the battles against them, and that used to be like the big thing. Like whenever they would show up in the cartoon, you're like, oh, like something awesome's about to happen. Big explosions. You know, someone's gonna do something crazy that you didn't know they could do before, and I think that's why I originally liked Wolverine so much.
Yeah.
Wolverine is always
Because-
everyone's. I don't know. My first favorite, especially the cartoon, was as you get older, he loses a little bit of his allure.
Mm-hmm.
But I was always a Gambit guy. He throws
Oh,
playing
yeah.
cards and they blow up. What's not cool about
Yeah,
that?
that's cool.
I used to really.
He had a cool accent and he wore a trench coat.
Yes.
And threw playing cards.
I was a big fan of Gambit back in the day too, but how they portrayed him in the latest movies, not so much his biggest fan, but I still like the character.
It didn't matter how they portrayed anyone in the newest movie because they made Deadpool the worst character
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
So
All right.
That was the worst one.
Let's see. One last thing, since we're getting the show always goes too fast for me, and
What did it say?
let's see. Okay, most underrated superhero or supervillain. Someone that you guys think is awesome, but nobody else really talks about.
that's a tough one.
Yeah, that is.
One guy I always liked. This is fairly mainstream though. We'll go back to Spider-Man. One guy I always liked, but he is a ridiculous supervillain. Is Mysterio. If you don't know Mysterio's backstory, he's the guy in the comic books or in Spider-Man comics who looks like he has a fishbowl on his head. And
Okay.
he wears the big long cape, and he is a disgraced special effects guy, and everything he does is all smoke and mirrors. He has absolutely zero powers, but he uses holograms and smoke and mirrors and special effects to do all this ridiculous stuff. And he's a ridiculously stupid character. I mean, there's so many. Especially if you go like down the Batman rabbit hole, there's so many like Calendar Man and stuff. Like some really dumb supervillains. But Mysterio was a fairly big deal in the Spider-Man comics for being able to like project stuff up the walls and have smoke machines and wear a fishbowl on his head. I had always a soft spot for Mysterio.
I'll top that. Howard the Duck. That was it was the most bizarre
Bob wins.
and stupid comic I've ever read. I mean, he's drawn to Earth with this ray, and he meets up with this girl, and they start getting a band, and it is just the most bizarre comic I've ever read. But it kind of grows on you a little bit. It's just kind of quirky.
There was a movie.
There was a movie.
Was that before or after 2000?
That was before. That was back
Howard the
in-
Duck. It's
That was
80
85
Well,
or
there-
84.
There wasn't a more recent one than that one?
I don't think
Unless
so.
it was an anime,
I know they
I know.
tried to like reboot it, but I don't know if it ever happened. But
Yeah.
the original one had what's her name?
Leah Thompson.
Leah Thompson. Yeah, from
Yeah.
Boom,
From,
he's on it.
yeah. Leah Thompson is so messed up. Are you excited about Rocket Raccoon now?
I am very excited about Rocket Raccoon.
I'm pumped about
I was
Rocket.
going to say.
Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be fun.
Alrighty. Well, we are coming down to the wire once again. Final thoughts that you guys would like to throw out there. Maybe plug something that you guys are going to be doing pretty soon with Project Nerd.
We'll be at Kansas City Comic Con 14th, 15th, and 16th of this month. So
Come out and see us
this
for,
coming
I think,
weekend.
Booth 203.
Booth 203, going to be fun. We'll be doing some interviews, live podcasts. We'll have a lot of merch, art and stuff at the booth.
And please come see us in costume. We'll take your picture and get you on the web.
Get you on the website.
There you go.
Favorite comic book movie? What's your favorite comic book movie?
Favorite comic
We
book?
got to do that
Favorite comic book movie?
all time.
Oh, God, you keep putting me on the spot.
What's Cameron's favorite comic movie all time?
That's hard because I want to go between Iron Man and the X-Men. I think I'm going to stick with the first Iron Man
First
movie.
Iron Man?
Flash Gordon.
Really? God, that's terrible.
I know.
Savior.
I'm just like of the universe. No.
Savior of the toss up between Superman 2 and Richard Donner Superman 2
Yeah.
and Spider-Man 2
You mean you're not going for
and Dark
Superman
Knight.
4 Quest for Peace?
No, Neil Prasad.
Alrighty, guys. Well, we got to wrap this up. Project Nerd, project-nerd.com,
Indeed.
and you guys can be found on Facebook and Twitter and all that
Facebook,
whatnot.
Twitter, we're all over the place.
Well,
Twitch,
they-
we have a Twitch channel now. We play video games. It's fun. So
Well, sweet deal. Well, check that all out. We're going to have links all over Duo for these guys so you can find them and see what they're up to next. Till next time, guys, I be Cameron. You are some lovely people, and see ya!
Online, radio, and TV.
Welcome to the next level.
From Manhattan, Kansas, this is Duo.